What's up, fight fans? Slaz up here. September is packed with some absolute banger fight nights, and today I'm going to give you my picks and breakdowns for the headline fights. From a middleweight #1 contender showdown to two dogs in a featherweight firefight, and even a redemption arc, this month is stacked. But before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are currently at 93 subscribers. Subscribing is free, and I guarantee you guys more banger content like this video. And without further ado, now that we've set the stage, let's jump right into the action. First up, we've got a middleweight clash that could decide the next title challenger. Nasruddin Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Number 2 ranked middleweight Nasruddin Imavov will be facing off against Fighting Nerd and number 7 ranked Caio Borralho. This is a good fight to make in the middleweight division. The middleweight division is getting stacked right now with ranked interesting prospects such as Imavov, Rainier de Ritter, Fluffy Hernandez, Caio Borralho, and Michael Venom Page. There's no doubt that this fight with Nasruddin Imavov and Caio Borralho is for the #1 contender spot. Imavov is picking up heat after his KO win over former champion Israel Adesanya. Imavov has some good names under his belt, such as the formerly mentioned Adesanya, Jared Killer Gorilla Cannonier, and Joaquin Buckley. This Russian man is on a tear right now and has a real challenge ahead of him. Actually, surprising enough, if you were not aware, like me before researching this video, Imavov is from Dagestan? That's right, Nasruddin Imavov, who we should be calling Nasruddin Imavomedov, is from Dagestan! I thought this was a French dude, not Khabib's aunt's neighbor's distant cousin. Anyways, his opponent, Fighting Nerd's co-founder, Caio Borralho, is on a real tear right now. Caio is on a 9-fight win streak, and showing that he is a real dark horse in the middleweight division. Caio is dangerous, and this fight with Imavov will be his biggest opportunity yet. If Caio wins here, he will all but secure himself a title shot against champion Khamzat Chimaev and further prove the eliteness of the Fighting Nerds. This fight will prove who is the real deal in the middleweight division. And I know you're asking, who does Slazup think's gonna win? I've got Caio Borralho taking this one home. I think this fight will be an incredible challenge for him, as Imavov is an amazing fighter. However, that being said, if Caio can play it smart and stick to the game plan, weathering the early storm, I think he gets it done here. And truth being told, I think Caio has both that IQ and that fight IQ, and takes down Goliath in this fight. Caio has some crafty tricks up his sleeve. He's got the black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's really good at Muay Thai. He's got the judo. And I think that after this fight, he will have his title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. That being said, don't assume that Imavov is being fed to the slaughter here. Quite the opposite. Imavov is dangerous and can also very likely win this fight by KO or TKO. Imavomedov has that Dagestani blood in his veins and is looking for a fight, and he's in for a real treat here with Caio Borralho. Unranked lightweight Mauricio Ruffy will be challenging Frenchman and number 13 ranked Benoit Saint-Denis in the co-main event of this fight card. All it takes is one shot for a Fighting Nerd to shine, and this fight is Mauricio Ruffy's shot at the lightweight rankings. Mauricio Ruffy is just so crafty, man. People forget, his spinning kick is like a 9-iron crashing against your cranium. Mauricio Ruffy walks around with ankle weights just to passively train his legs for some flashy kicks. This guy put Bobby Green on a tombstone when he hit the spinning KO of the year at UFC 313. This guy eats the gum fruit before his fights in order to extend his reach for his flashy knockouts. Ruffy is flashy, he's technical, and he's an exciting contender in the ever-so-stacked lightweight division. His opponent, Benoit Saint-Denis, trains with Nasruddin Imavov. The main and co-main event of this fight is basically just a 2v2, Fighting Nerds versus Frenchmen. And Benoit Saint-Denis is good. He's been there, done that with some notable lightweights, including Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano. This guy, he's kind of more of a journeyman right now, and winning this fight against Ruffy can set some big things into motion for him. All that being said, I think Ruffy gets this one done. All it takes is one shot for Ruffy, and I think he gets this shot right on the head. I have Ruffy winning this fight by KO or TKO. Moving on to UFC Noche, number 2 ranked featherweight Diego Lopes will be facing off against Fighting Nerd and number 10 ranked Silva. This fight is fire! After seeing both of these athletes put on amazing performances at UFC 314, I am super hyped for this fight and the outcome that could come from it. First, let's talk about these guys' performances at UFC 314. Starting off with Diego Lopes in the main event against Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopes showed his true colors that night in Miami. Diego put on an absolute war with Volk and proved that he has champion material. However, Volkanovski is a different level of champion. Although Diego Lopes lost to Volkanovski, he still looked great in the fight. Diego is an amazing striker, and he showed off with his flashy yet technical boxing skills. Lopes had his moments where he heated up in the fight against Volkanovski, even knocking the champ down into danger. There is a clip from this fight where Diego Lopes lands an uppercut on Volk, while Volk simultaneously lands an overhand left, and that shit is straight out of Mortal Kombat. Going into this upcoming fight against Gene Silva, I think Diego Lopes will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. Diego has champion level striking with some really good ground game, and if he goes out there and imposes his will on Gene Silva for 5 rounds, it's going to be a bad night for Gene Silva. Transitioning into Gene Silva, let's talk about his fight at UFC 314 against Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, flat earther and member of Arkansas Space Program, got his ass handed to him by Gene Silva. Silva was about as dominant as he could be in that fight. Gene Silva was in there playing mind games with Bryce Mitchell like he's Mewtwo. Gene Silva went out there and embarrassed Bryce Mitchell, laughing at him, outclassing him in the striking exchanges, and ultimately submitting him with a ninja choke, which put Bryce Mitchell to sleep. When it comes to fighting Diego Lopes, Gene Silva has a really big opportunity. If Gene Silva beats Diego Lopes, he will jump up 8 spots in the featherweight rankings, catapulting himself into the top 5 of the division. If Gene Silva is as dominant to Diego Lopes as he was against Bryce Mitchell, he has a real argument for a title shot against Volkanovski. Going into this fight, who do I think is going to win? Honestly, I'm pretty split here. I think Diego Lopes has some real skill and champion potential. However, the fighting nerds are just that good. And Gene Silva is the perfect example of that. All that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Diego Lopes here. Diego Lopes has some more unk status under his belt, that being more experience with better competition, and I think he gets it done here. That being said, I think this is a very close fight. I could also see Gene Silva taking this home too. If I had to estimate, I would say that this fight is 60-40 in favor of Diego Lopes. And if Diego Lopes wins this fight, it will be by decision. Let's talk about UFC Fight Night, Ulberg versus Reyes. Number 8 ranked light heavyweight Dominic Reyes will be challenging number 3 ranked Carlos Ulberg in the headline of UFC Perth. This fight will be a good stand and bang fight. Both these guys are excellent strikers with power to back it up, and I think this is one of the most underrated fights happening this month. Let's talk about Carlos Ulberg first. Carlos Ulberg is steamrolling through the light heavyweight division right now. Ulberg is on an 8-fight win streak. His most recent win is his most impressive win, with Ulberg beating the former champion Jan Blachowicz. Ulberg is the hottest prospect out of City Kickboxing, the same gym that made Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, Kai Kara France, and occasionally Alexander Volkanovski. Carlos Ulberg has the striking, he has the power, and he has a good gym behind him. If he wins here against Dominic Reyes, the former championship challenger, he all but sets himself in line for a title shot. Although light heavyweight has some banger number 1 contender fights in the works right now, such as this fight, Ulberg versus Reyes, and Roundtree versus Prochazka on UFC 320. So it's not guaranteed that this win will instantly earn a title shot. Let's talk about Ulberg's opponent, Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes is this guy who kind of fell from glory. You see, Dominic Reyes was the boogeyman at one point. Dominic Reyes entered the UFC undefeated and continued to climb the ranks as an undefeated contender. Reyes was undefeated going into his fight for the title against champion Jon Jones. And the fight with Jon Jones is where he began to fall. Dominic Reyes did not fall in the fight with Jon Jones, actually quite the opposite. Reyes was piecing up Jones in their fight, in which many people, even UFC president Dana White, believed that Reyes won. However, in what is considered to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest robbery in UFC history, Dominic Reyes lost the fight to Jon Jones by decision. And this fight started the downward spiral of Reyes for a while. After losing to Jones, Reyes would then proceed to get KO'd in his next 3 fights, putting him on a 4-fight losing streak. The reason I bring this up is because it makes what comes next all the sweeter. You see, after going on such a downward spiral, something clicked inside Dominic Reyes. He took some time off and came back even better. Reyes would then proceed to win his next 3 fights all by knockout. And that brings us to UFC 314, where Dominic Reyes knocked out Nikita Krylov in the first round. You see, Dominic Reyes is on his redemption arc right now. If Reyes wins this upcoming fight against Carlos Ulberg, he will immediately catapult himself into talks for title contention. If Dominic Reyes can come back after the John Jones robbery and subsequent fall from grace, fight for the title, and then win the title, we would be witnessing the greatest redemption story in UFC history. That's why this fight matters for Dominic Reyes to win. In all, I think this fight is going to be a Counter-Strike 1v1. Both of these guys have ops for power, and both are incredible strikers and counter-strikers, and all it takes for them is one shot. To be completely honest, I don't have a prediction for this fight. I can see this fight going either way. For me, this fight is a perfect 50-50. Alright, that about wraps up my picks and predictions for September's headline fights. This month is stacked with some banger matchups, and honestly, a lot of these could go either way. But I want to hear from you. Who do you think takes these fights home? Drop your predictions in the comments and let's talk some fights. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe. We're on the road to 100 subscribers right now, and stay tuned because I've got even bigger things coming up in the near future. And until next time, peace.